a lot of us feel physical and mental pressure throughout the day. And one of the reasons why we feel that is because either our mind is ahead of our body or our body is ahead of our mind.
Got a sort of 5-point plan that anyone can follow to get over stress and trauma in their lives. Talk me through it.
Well, I think, first of all, I want to make one thing clear. The quality of your life is the quality of where you live emotionally. Like, we all have a home. Angry people find a way to get angry, even if their life doesn't have anything to be angry about. We can always find it. Sad people find a way to be sad. Caring people find a way to care for other people. So one thing you got to identify is, where are you living? What's your home? What's your habit? And then the way to change it is, when I was homeless, literally on my own, just getting started, I didn't have the internet, but I decided I had to go to a library and I had to feed my mind. And I always tell people the first stage is, weeds grow automatically. One of my teachers taught me, he said, every day stand guard at the door of your mind and feed it something good. Because if your worst enemy puts sugar in your coffee here, you're fine. If your best friend by accident trying to help you put some strychnine, you're dead. So if you feed your mind every day, 30 minutes a day of reading something, hearing something. Second, you got to strengthen your body. And the reason, Pierce, is fear is physical, right? So is stagnation, so is numbness, so is sadness, so is rage. And when you go in and change your body by an intense workout or a run or even an intense walk and the blood's flowing through you, science has shown it instantly changes your biochemistry. And now your mind and body are working together. Third thing, all these people did in common, if you watch, they found a mission bigger than themselves. Yeah. Something that they wanted to aspire to that was worth more than their pain. And then the fourth thing is, you got to find a role model. You heard it with Nick. Almost everybody finds a role model that makes it real. I was with Warren Buffett and with Sarah Blakely, the youngest billionaire. We did this roundtable about the future. And when you listen to this woman, and when women meet her, they don't just love Spanx, her product that made her a billionaire. They love this woman because she's a role model of what's possible. Yeah. When you get a role model, it becomes real to you if you get a plan, you get a goal plan, and you take massive action. And the last step, number 5, there's always somebody worse off than you are. I don't care what you've done. So if you can go help somebody worse off, it puts your life in perspective. And it also reminds you, life's not about me, it's about we. I always tell people, the secret to a great life, the secret to living is giving. And when you realize there's something in you still to give, even if you lost your legs, even if you've been through a horrific financial situation, your life can improve. But more importantly, you'll have a meaningful life because your
The body has a system to remove unwanted food, water, or air without us even being aware of it. How we wish there were an automatic arrangement that could throw negative feelings and emotions out as well. But that's not how it works with the mind. We have to consciously work on purging these toxic emotions out of our inner systems. And here are 3 suggested ways to get these feelings out. First, write your feelings down on a piece of paper and tear it into pieces or burn it into ashes. This practice doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but allows us to express ourselves and release the negative energy, at least temporarily. Second, open your heart and confide into someone close and trustworthy. Sharing our feelings can not only lighten the heaviness we feel, but we may also receive support and guidance to deal with our negativity. Third, the most powerful, of course, is adopting a spiritual practice which can help us cleanse our consciousness and give us the inner strength to fight these tendencies. Always remember that it's not the glass of water, which is only a couple of grams in weight, that hurts our hand. It is the duration for which we hold it. The quicker we keep it down, the better it is.
And people ask us all the time, what are some great techniques to relieve stress and anxiety? And I'm going to show you a couple. This first one takes just a little bit longer, but you will love it so much you won't care. And it's easy. It's easy peasy, as my grandson would say. And that is right here. And many of you have, when you've gotten stressed or shocked, you've thrown your hand up to your head and maybe not thought about it. But I think our ancient ancestors must have done the same thing, but kept their hand there. Because when you get stressed, you can lose, well, you lose a lot of blood from your forebrain that goes into the body for the fight or flight response. And you can, if it's a bad enough stress, you could lose up to 80% of the blood in your forebrain. So you don't have all your marbles to think things through with. And so if you put your hand here, your hand is electromagnetic, and so is the blood, and it literally draws the blood up like a magnet. And it's really, really excellent to lift you up out of stress.
So it interrupts the fight or flight response. The blood has gone into your arms, your chest, your legs for the fight or flight response. This brings it back, and when that happens, the whole chemistry of fight or flight gets interrupted.
And may I say that if you're going through a lot of stress in your life, instead of constantly going over it in your mind or anything like that, hold your hand up here, or hold two hands, maybe the pads of your fingers right here, and then your thumb in your temples. These are all neurovascular points, and if you hold them while you're thinking of your stress, it will lift you up and out of the stress.
One of the things I often talk about is a lot of us feel physical and mental pressure throughout the day. And one of the reasons why we feel that is because either our mind is ahead of our body or our body is ahead of our mind. So I'll explain what I mean by that.
I like that.
So often, how many times have you had it? Anyone who's listening right now, I'm sure you can relate. How many times have you had it where you're running to your next meeting, so your body's moving really fast, but your mind's going, I wish we were still in bed, right? Your mind is still tired. Your mind's still feeling fatigued from the day before or whatever it may be. And sometimes we have it the other way around. Your mind's racing. It's saying, okay, we got this to-do list, and now we got this to do, and now we got this to do. And your body's going, ugh, why can't it just be Friday already? Why can't it be the weekend? Because your body's tired. So what we generally experience in our life is either our body's ahead of our mind or our mind's ahead of our body. And that creates friction. That's a disconnect in our life. And we were just talking about this, that we feel alignment when what we think, what we say, and what we do, that's when we feel harmony.
Right.
So the way to do that, one really practical tip, I do it all the time, especially when I'm rushing onto stage to speak at a conference, or I'm walking into a meeting and it's been a long day or whatever it is, I focus on my breath. And what I do is that I breathe in for the same amount of time as I breathe out. So when you breathe in for a count of 4 and breathe out for a mental count of 4, and you imagine the numbers in your head. So you want to breathe in and count to 4 in your mind, and you want to breathe out and count to 4 in your mind, you're aligning your mind and your body. Because now your breath is breathing in for 4, the counts in your head, and then you're breathing out for 4, and the counts in your head. So what you've basically done is taken either your body and your mind, whichever one was ahead or behind, and brought them back in alignment.
Be grateful for where you are, and finally be kind to yourself. One of the major causes of depression is not a chemical imbalance in your brain at all. It is harsh, hurtful, critical words that you say to you on a daily basis. Please don't do that. Stop that now. If I could prove to you that your harsh, hurtful words cause you to be depressed and anxious and get in a rut, then surely you would stop them. If you spoke to a friend the way you spoke to yourself, oh, look at the state of me, I'm such a mess, I'm such an idiot, I'm such a loser, it all goes wrong, everything I touch I mess up, I just can't get this right, I'm deadwood, I got rocks for brains, I'm so stupid, I'm an idiot. If you spoke to your friend the way you speak to yourself, they would be long gone. Be a friend to yourself, practice kindness, be nice. Yeah, I messed something up today, but it's okay. Tomorrow, I will do better. I learned something. I learned.
So write down the triggers, okay? Because having kind of the triggers ahead of time will help you come up with a plan for how you're going to catch yourself when your mind defaults to the automatic ways that it thinks. Then what I want you to write down next to the trigger is what exactly are you worried about? So having the trigger and then what do I worry about? I worry that my boss is going to yell. I worry that my partner's going to yell. I worry that I'm going to get in trouble. I worry that, my friends are going to laugh at me. I worry that I'm going to be whatever the it may be. Then what you're going to do is you're going to write down what I call an anchor thought. An anchor thought is something that weighs you down and it makes you excited. And so here's how the strategy works with the 5-second rule. The next time you're in a situation, and let's just use the example of pulling into your own driveway or your own apartment, and maybe you've got issues with your boyfriend or girlfriend or your roommate, and that makes you unsettled. The second you pull in and you feel the trigger, you're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because I want to interrupt your mind from going into the I don't like, what if I do, and then you're going to drop in the anchor thought of the last time that you and your roommate really got along well, or the last time that you stood up for yourself and it went fine. And
or your puppy.
Yeah, or a puppy or whatever. And you're going to say, I'm so excited to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get out of your car, even though your body is going to feel a little unsettled and your mind's going to race. Go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you start to be like, but what? And then walk in the door. And what I'm teaching you to do is to not let your mind hijack you.
Right.
And it's very important because there's a very tight nexus between your habit of worrying and spiraling your thoughts and the way your body starts to amp up. And so we want to settle your mind so we don't agitate your body.
When something comes in to disturb you, if you don't let it pass right through you, you're saying that it will, the energy of it will drag you down into it, and then you think you become that thing. Right. So what are we supposed to do when problems show up?
The moment it starts with that chitter chatter,
your mind.
My mind, my first reaction inside is to relax and lean away from that.
To go to the seat of self.
You can use words. I just relax and lean away from it.
Okay.
Right? Yes, it's true. You end up leaning into the seat of self.
Okay.
But I lean away from the noise the mind is making.
And by seat of self, I mean that awareness that is my mind speaking. Yes. Uh-huh.
So you're going to do one or two things. Once it starts, you're either going to lean into it and get involved. It'll pull you in.
Which is what
or
most of us do.
You have the right to relax and lean away. And what you're going to do is start to get some space. And you will learn over time that that's the smartest thing you ever did. Why? Because you gave it room to pass through, and it will pass right through.
I'm telling you this for you to understand it is wired into you to be negative in order to survive. So it's okay to think negative things a little bit each day, but don't get carried away. When you get on a plane, you put your seatbelt on to be safe. You don't spend the whole flight thinking, I'm going to get killed, I'm going to be propelled out of this plane in a minute, I'm going to die. We are wired to be a little bit negative to be safe. That doesn't mean you're a negative person. It means it's actually easier to fall back into negative behavior. I knew that would go wrong. I knew that wouldn't work out. I knew I'd mess that up. I knew this was a bad idea. You don't need that kind of negative behavior. You can have a little negativity in your day only if its outcome is to protect you. Once you've done that, stop being negative and move into being positive. You see, the problem is we think, well, I'm not positive because I thought a negative thought. Turn that around. Think 90% positive thoughts and 10% negative, and then you won't beat yourself up for not being Miss Pollyanna or Mr. Pollyanna every day. You'll understand, oh, I'm doing what my mind wants me to do. Your mind has one job. Here it is. Your mind's job is to keep you safe on the planet against what were once actually not great odds. And for your mind to do its job, you have got to do your job. Tell your mind what you want. Tell it how you want to be. Tell your mind what you expect of yourself every day using detailed, descriptive, positive, relevant, up-to-the-minute language. And when you do your job as well as that, guess what? Your mind does its job as well as that too. And now you have win-win. You're a winner, not a loser. It's easy once you start. And I know you can do it, because if you do it enough, it stops being what you do and it becomes who you are. And then your life really will change.
In this study, you'd probably be a little stressed out. Your heart might be pounding, you might be breathing faster, maybe breaking out into a sweat. And normally we interpret these physical changes as anxiety or signs that we aren't coping very well with the pressure. But what if you viewed them instead as signs that your body was energized, was preparing you to meet this challenge? Now, that is exactly what participants were told in a study conducted at Harvard University. Before they went through the social stress test, they were taught to rethink their stress response as helpful. That pounding heart is preparing you for action. If you're breathing faster, it's no problem. It's getting more oxygen to your brain. And participants who learned to view the stress response as helpful for their performance, well, they were less stressed out, less anxious, more confident. But the most fascinating finding to me was how their physical stress response changed. Now, in a typical stress response, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels constrict like this. And this is one of the reasons that chronic stress is sometimes associated with cardiovascular disease. It's not really healthy to be in this state all the time. But in the study, when participants viewed their stress response as helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed like this. Their heart was still pounding, but this is a much healthier cardiovascular profile. It actually looks a lot like what happens in moments of joy and courage. Over a lifetime of stressful experiences, this one biological change could be the difference between a stress-induced heart attack at age 50 and living well into your 90s. And this is really what the new science of stress reveals, that how you think about stress matters. So my goal as a health psychologist has changed. I no longer want to get rid of your stress. I want to make you better at stress. And we just did a little intervention. If you raised your hand and said you'd had a lot of stress in the last year, we could have saved your life. Because hopefully the next time your heart is pounding from stress, you're going to remember this talk and you're going to think to yourself, this is my body helping me rise to this challenge. And when you view stress in that way, your body believes you and your stress response becomes healthier.
People, when they have an event, what they do is they keep recalling the event because the emotions of stress hormones, the survival emotions, are saying, pay attention to what happened because you want to be prepared if it happens again. Turns out most people spend 70% of their life living in survival and living in stress. So they're always anticipating the worst case scenario based on a past experience. And they're literally, out of the infinite potentials in the quantum field, they're selecting the worst possible outcome and they're beginning to emotionally embrace it with fear. And they're conditioning their body into a state of fear. Do that enough times, body has a panic attack without you. You can't even predict it because it's programmed subconsciously. So then you say to the person, why are you this way? And they'll say, I am this way because of this event that happened to me 15 or 20 years ago. And what that means from a biological standpoint is that they haven't been able to change since that event. So then the emotions from the experience tend to give the body and the brain a rush of energy. So people become addicted to the rush of those emotions, and they use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their limitation, so at least they can feel something. So now when it comes time to change, you say to the person, why are you this way? Well, every time they recall the event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event is occurring, firing and wiring the same circuits and sending the same emotional signature to the body. Well, what's the relevance behind that? Well, your body is the unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between the experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. So the body's believing it's living in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so then when those emotions influence certain thoughts, and they do, and then those thoughts create the same emotions, and those same emotions influence the same thoughts, now the entire person's state of being is in the past. So then the hardest part about change is not making the same choices you did the day before, period. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready because it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. There's going to be some uncertainty.